Hey guys, it's your boy TG, and yeah, bring it from the bottom. Ooh, that feels good to say.
Yes,
You're locked in to another edition of Goode Entertainment. I got some special people in the house. MPG, Marcus Ojalayo is his name, always a man with a plan. Then across the room, the president of FrontRow Sports, Jessie Heninger. Hey, this man, he is the plan. So, I'm going to ask you, Marcus, before we go over to Jessie. How does it feel? We're one more week back into it. COVID's opening up some more, and we changed locations. That's one thing. I would say Abbott, but how do you feel? I mean, I just come off vacation. You might have joined me. I don't know. But how's it feel?
it feels amazing. I mean, the atmosphere, COVID, that's opening back up with all the vaccines and really just seeing people outside, normal, getting back to normal, and just feeling blessed and staying safe.
So Jessie, I don't know where you're currently located, but how does it feel? I mean, it's scorching here. We got a little bit of rain in the forecast. I mean, for Virginia, right now it's hot, and I like air conditioning, so I got to set on 45. No, I got to set on 65. But there's a lot of things in sports happening. But right now, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I actually just moved into my new Airbnb a couple days ago. I move a couple times a year just because no first and last month's rent, and everything's fully furnished. So and a busy lifestyle. Obviously, it's good to stay. Rolling Stone gathers no moss. So I'm feeling good. It's about 93 here. I'm right now. I'm close to Philadelphia, and my air is working just to stay at about 74. So. When you go to Airbnbs, you never know what you're going to get. It's a beautiful place, but they could use some more air conditioning. But everything's great. Everything feels good. I'm glad to be on the show, and thank you, gentlemen, for having me.
Well, let's get started. But first, breaking news out of Portland with the Trailblazers. We know the Clippers are currently, right now, locked into maybe elimination game tonight against Chris Paul and the boys. Right. But they're going to be going without one of their coaches and his assistant coach, Chauncey Billups. So now, look at this. He said, I'm bouncing. So I want to know this. Is that a sign that the Clippers are losing tonight? There's a storyline to every madness. Because when coaches start bailing, that means they don't have no luck. They're kind of like, I'm going to go somewhere else. Which who would be an assistant? And again, Portland Trailblazers having the opportunity. And I'm going to go to Jessie on this. To see what they're doing right now in Portland, they're trying to build. They're building now. They're in that rebuilding stage. And, I mean, they need a lot of help. But having a coach with this structure that he has, do you think he's the guy for the job, Jessie?
I would say it's the NBA. It doesn't matter. You build the best roster. You let them all play, and the coach gets the credit sometimes, usually not. And the players ride home with all the money. So at the end of the day, just find yourself a job and hope the players do well. I mean, let's be honest. Look at all the famous coaches of all time. They had some of the best players. You name me a coach that won it with nobody, and that would be a very short list. So that's my opinion on that.
Well, let's say this. So we've seen Doc Rivers switch around, and we know what he did with the Boston Celtics. Then he went to the Clippers, and now with the 76ers, and we know the Clippers and Celtics, no luck found there. If you want to base his career off success, I say he's not a successful coach. With the players and the stuff that he has. So going into this matchup, I would say, with balancing a coach and a team, Chauncey Billups being the guy for the Trailblazers. What do you think it's just too fast of a move for him? Should he stay with LA and just got a little bit more coaching underneath his belt, or do you think he's moving in the right pace? What you got?
I feel like he should have stayed just a little bit with the LA Clippers, because as of right now, you talk about the LA Clippers. They in crisis of facing elimination. Of course, with the LA Clippers, they without their key player in Kawhi Leonard, who's suffering a severe knee injury. So that's a huge blow to the LA Clippers team. But then at the same time, when you look at Chauncey Billups being the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, I get why they doing it, because like you mentioned before, the Portland Trailblazers, are a rebuilding team. They're in a rebuilding stage. And when you look at the Portland Trail Blazers, they are a playoff contender, but at the same sense, when you look at the Portland Trail Blazers, they every year that they make it to the playoffs, they can't really get over the hump and trying to like make it to the NBA Finals with other significant contenders as well. So when you look at Chauncey Billups being that head coach, it does put him in a good position because he can now allow other players that he can recruit, good players that he can recruit, and try to like make this Portland Trailblazers team a dominant and dangerous team.
We will see, definitely, with now the mixture all around the league. We will see you got the Clippers building their somewhat dynasty, coming the furthest they've been in their whole franchise.
Exactly.
Now you got the Suns. I don't know what they may be after the season if they win the final, if they even go forward past the Clippers. Right. What would they do without Chris Paul? Because I know it's far gone for him. Should be leaving the league and just becoming an agent or something. I don't know.
Marquez, you gotta win to have a dynasty, Marquez. You know that.
Well, look. One thing about this is I would say the Clippers organization with Chauncey Billups leaving,
mm-hmm.
Clippers have this. They can do what they need to do to win. They should. Now, talking about coach's standpoint, before we move on to the Olympics, is like, can a coach cause the season? Because ultimately, you got a coach on the sideline, and he can, or a court side, whatever you want to call it, and he can call the play. But then when you have veterans out there, like we give so much heat to Doc Rivers. Every year he loses. He had Joel Embiid, he had Ben Simmons this year. Then when he was with the Clippers, he had a taste of Kawhi Leonard, and he had a taste of Paul George. Then he went to the big team that he had, and they failed every season after season. And now the Clippers have advanced to one of the furthest points in their franchise history, which it might be eliminated tonight. But I just think coaches-wise, it can be a strain or a hardship on the team if they don't put the right people at the right time. But then it takes veterans, and we've seen it from every sport, to make altered calls to win a game or win that play or whatever you want to call it. But otherwise, let's talk about what's happening in the Olympics. Now, you got the trials going on right now, and you have HBCUs going against PWIs and across the world mixing up together. You have people out here winning their awards, and then the national anthem start playing while they're getting the awards. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on. And some people call it systematic. Some people call it systematic racism. Some people saying just wrong, poor timing. But the main thing right now this year is we're coming out of 2 years of COVID, and it's taken millions and billions of lives. And it's very serious, and it's still we're opening up and not masked up. Right. But the percentage of vaccinations are increasing, which is good. Mm-hmm. But in the same sense, going to these Olympics, and I'm going to bounce back to you, Jessie. Going back to these Olympics, the Prime Minister of Japan is scared
tomato.
And being spread, the spread of COVID is really serious. Because, I've been exposed to COVID, and I've had it. It didn't have the craziness that it all brought on. And I've known people close to me that had it and passed away. And they've been perfectly healthy. Mm-hmm. But, Jessie, at this moment in the world where we're at, and we've really not conquered COVID all the way yet. It's still other third world countries that are affected really heavy to this. And we have some places like Africa that's still taking hardship because I guess what they're doing, they don't want to say it. They're testing them over there before they bring it back to us. That's the secret to the madness. But in the same sense, we've had not only COVID spring out, but as COVID's now trying to take its diving point and kind of disappear in the world, wherever that may be, now we have 2 variants that are talking about coming out. Like, it's mind-boggling that this stuff is happening, but do you think I wouldn't even say think it's right, but would you be worried as the Japan's prime minister saying we shouldn't really have the Olympics because everybody's diving from other countries, and will they curve back to their countries? And how could you stop an outbreak potentially happening?
Well, first, I think it is something to be addressed. I think that the Japan leaders and all of the whole group need to be very careful. They don't want to be responsible for a new world outbreak. They also know that it is the Olympics. Everybody wants to attend. There's a lot of money to be made in sponsorships, and those sponsorships really can't be made unless there's people in that stadium. So I know it's a very tough decision when you're talking about the business end as well as also the safety end. But it's also bad for business if you're not the most safe. So it is kind of convoluted. I would say we've all, as fans to all of our leagues in the United States and abroad, we've all gotten used to watching sports with no fans. So frankly, to all of us watching in the States and to most everybody else that doesn't have the money or wants to travel to Japan during that time, we're going to be watching like everybody else. Fans or not. And I mean, and how many times are fans part of the Olympics? I mean, like we have the shot put. Okay. Then you have, all the relay races. I don't really see the fans as far as the viewer from watching from TV affecting us too much. There might be a way, and if it's on TV still, a lot of those sponsorships can still be fulfilled. So I think it's very important that they're looking at it closely, and we'll find out. Of course, everybody wants to attend the Olympics, and everybody that has a plane ticket or everybody has a ticket already is cheering for it still to happen. But I think the jury's still out on what the right answer is. Yeah, agreed.
So you talked about not only that and what Jessie talked about, but you bring in the factor that to get to a foreign country out of the United States, right, you have to test positive. I mean, test negative. I said positive, negative. To get out of the country to come back. So if you're coming out of the Olympics trying to enter the U.S., you have to then test negative again. Most of the people are almost somewhat forced to get a COVID shot before you get on a plane and go to another country.
That's just government policies.
And I think it's infringing on your right, because you should be able to say, hey, what enters my body, what don't enter my body. You should have that right. But I know we're at a global crisis, but still, what was our rights established for? But now we're here at this point, and we're talking about, now we're taking a diving point back in COVID again. We're getting out of it. It looks promising. I don't know if it was a political stunt or what it was, but this thing is looking promising to get out of here. People are more and more vaccinated. But what do you think is the best outcome? I mean, would be pausing the Olympics? I mean, we had it for we lost it for 2 years. We can still keep going. I mean, I understand, like Jessie said, in the business forefront. We look at from the athlete. Those athletes take so much of their body, physically, mentally, their families invested. And then you just say, hold up, you can't come over here because COVID right now. But 2 years later, we're going to round all you guys up. And imagine the veterans, or if you consider the veterans that's been in the Olympics, they're getting older. And guess what? The more guys that's like smaller rookies are coming out of high school probably 2 times bigger and better. And so you got Jessie, maybe the veteran. Mm-hmm. I may be the rookie, and me and him are paddling at the same. The phrase that we're trying to get here is just trying to be able to keep the playing field level. Because as I get older, Jessie's getting older, my grandparents getting older, my parents getting older, and think about people's lives change. Because everybody's probably 2 years. Imagine what your life did in the last 2 years. It's flipped completely. I went from working Amazon to working minor league baseball. I'm just saying, that's just a flip there. And then imagine what Jessie and if you look at his resume move through 2 years, you're like, whoa, you went from here to there, and you're building. It's building. But what you take out of this? Is Japan's prime minister right with being worried, or did he just say, okay, this old guy, stop being worried?
I would say the prime minister is right. I mean, yes, it is a sacrifice as far as like holding off on the Olympics, and like Jessie mentioned, losing money and sponsorships. But at the same time, when you really dig deep into it, I would rather be precautious of my own health than to worry about different sports in the Olympics. Because the way I see it, when you think of different sports in the Olympics, whether it's basketball, whether it's relay or other gymnastics, that's just a sign of what you do and not who you are as an individual. So I do agree with the prime minister that it should like stay put. Of course, it's like I mentioned, it's a sacrifice that you're losing money, but I would rather stay safe and stay healthy and not having to put my health on the line than to just be out there and have to worry about my own health.
That's enough said about that. And the prime minister, like I said, is correct about the spread of COVID could come back, and the heat doesn't make it any better because now you not only have bodily fluids, now you're touching the same equipment. Did they clean the areas properly?
Exactly.
There's a lot of things that come into this stuff. But meanwhile, while we talk about keeping things clean, let's go into Major League Baseball, where the league has been around for decades and decades, and yeah, you know that. But in this point, baseball decides that, hey, and we know league owner is not the greatest guy, but who is the greatest guy? We don't know. But in this substance abuse kind of issue right here, sticky substances inside MLB. Now, over the years, I don't know how much you watch baseball, and Jessie, I know that's another sport that you are expertise on. But the sticky substance is not only just, we've seen it on bats to get better grip, we've seen it on the pitcher's glove, we've seen it on the fingertips, we've seen it on the top of the head, we see it anywhere. Pine tar, we've seen it, the difference between sunscreen and resin mixed together to kind of get this sticky glue-like substance to get a better. You can see the motion in the ocean when you see the ball. It could be a changeup, it could be a curve. You see the motion going down the line. We just saw one of the greatest pitchers in the league right now get tossed out the game the other night. We saw Girardi getting the mind of the pitcher, because he knew that in the game the other night they ended up tossing Girardi because the pitcher and him got into an altercation. But it's a way now that it used to be, hey, you have to have a solid reason. You have to see him either really pressing in, you have to see him doing something to get that. You have to almost see pine tar on the hand before you can challenge. Mm-hmm. But now they've made the rule where now umpires or officials have to walk and escort the pitcher to the dugout like they're a kid in Little League.
Every inning.
Literally.
Every inning.
Check their collars, check their fingertips, check their glove. Or you're tossed. If you refuse to it, you're automatically tossed 10-game suspension. Now, one guy
paid.
Well, yeah, it's not really. You don't really lose. It's kind of a win-win. Put some pine tar in your glove and go home.
Exactly.
My bad. Like, go home. 10 games. I mean, I get paid. But in the meantime, umpires escort you to the sideline. I say sideline, but to the warning track, into your respected areas. They can't let you go back there until you come back out. Some people say let's spy on them and put an official in every dugout. I'm like, you're trying to pay people millions of dollars to check some gloves. At the end of the day, it don't really alter the game.
Right.
I understand some people say, oh, he got a better speed, he got this, he got that. You see the ball, do you? That's my point of view of it. And
it's all in the eye coordination.
But before I take it over to Jessie, you do get that 10-game suspended. You are ejected immediately out the game. The players the coaches therefore can't even put you out the roster to add somebody in. So that far, you're losing a player, maybe your best pitcher. And now, I saw one player the other night watching ESPN, he stripped on him. He literally pulled everything, hat, this, that, almost down to the bare minimal out there on the field. I'm like, kids are watching. So this tactic, do you think it's way too late? Why now? We're almost like 2 months into the season. And some league, minor league's not doing it. I'm hoping they don't change their mind soon. But far as major leagues, why now? It's a question.
Well, I think it's I think it's kind of obvious. The attendance in Major League Baseball has been going down for years. I think one of the biggest things is that it's low scoring, could be very boring. I think that if you're allowing or continuing to allow, we'll just say, pitchers to alter, the stickiness, the tackiness on their fingers, and making it even tougher on the batter, you're looking at even lower and lower scoring games. Every sport is turning into more about scoring and less about maybe what it originally was about. I kind of was a huge hockey fan. Growing up in the Philadelphia area, hockey to me was about physicality, scoring, but also about fighting, also about all of the different things between the blue lines. And now it's just about, you're seeing 8-6 games. And, you used to see goalies fight. So I think that what's going on, look at hockey again. They still sharpen the sticks. The goalies elongate the nubs of the stick to just get an extra little bit. So every sport since the beginning of time is trying to create an edge. And I think in baseball, when the ball's going 100 miles, and look at the ball used to go over. Look in the mid 80s. I mean, the best pitchers were Tom Glavine and Schmaltz and Maddox. Look, Maddox couldn't break a plane of glass with his fastball, but he knew how to paint the corners. He knew how to use the changeup on the outside and a fastball down and in. These are the things that, they're really not doing anymore. So the pitchers are just really a lot stronger as physical, people. And it's becoming a lot lower scoring games. So I think they're trying to give the advantage a little bit back to the hitter. And honestly, for baseball and the business behind baseball, not to always bring it back to business, but you will have more fans if they're higher scoring games. And if it's more back and forth in dominant pitching, no matter how much the traditionalists of baseball love it, and I'm one of them. I was a pitcher in high school. You look at those pitchers, you study them, but at the end of the day, the traditional fan just wants to see an amazing home run and a couple great defensive plays in the outfield, and that's it. So I see what's going on. I mean, that's my opinion, but I can see where it's going.
And like you said, one of the things, the sticky substance. What next are you going to do? Let players get jacked like back in the day and start doing steroids? Because now, if you do snip through with the sticky substance, which some of it's not visible, and sometimes, like you're saying, again, going back to the main point of it all, it's now giving the coach the ability to challenge. So if I see you out there or I see Jessie out there pitching, I get in your mind. Like I saw the other night, he watched the coach watched the player get in his groove. There was no kind of substance on the field. And boom, he challenged. He kept challenging. And guess what? You start an altercation because you're challenging the player and getting him out his mojo.
Well, Marquez, look, I mean, you're icing the kicker. I mean, look at guys. They're calling timeouts, before the kicker. I mean, I guess you end up using the rules to your advantage, right? I mean, it's
bending the rules. You never break them. So that's one thing.
And then also, when you mentioned the stickiness, I feel like that's kind of, I want to say, a cheat code or maybe an other advantage on either whether it's the pitcher or whether it's the batter to get that upper hand and try to get as many home runs and get as many points for the other team.
And it's a lot to go with it, and we'll see how this thing pan out because not now sports, all the way from minor league baseball to the big guys in the NFL to hockey, they're trying to speed the game up. Mm-hmm. But as we're finding out, you're speeding the game up. You take that one step forward, we take 2 steps back, and now we're putting extra stuff like baseball is. Football has now added 4 different things you can now challenge with throwing a flag. I mean, hell, go ahead and add too much challenges to the field of play. I mean, might as well give me a TV. I can see it up close. I'm That's just right. saying. But moving over. We talked about the Olympics. We go way back to baseball and their rules. But let's talk about Trouble in Paradise. I just came from there. Why? No, I didn't. I wish I did. I'm stuck in the house because of COVID and moving. But and what they have to offer. Now this is crazy because the whole off season we've seen a lot of things take place. But one thing that hasn't really moved was Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. Now, Matt LaFleur, the coach that he is, have now stated, love, act like you were the starter. No, it's no acting. There's no such thing as acting. You either are you my starter, or I'm waiting for Aaron Rodgers and hope you come back. Now, Rodgers kind of say, I'm done. CEO got to be, the GM has to be out. Mm-hmm. And now the big dog said, hold on, Rodgers, you don't have that much respect around here. We're not getting rid of him. Now, the smart move I think Green Bay should have pulled here, as an operations side of things, is they should have pulled Bill, knocked him off his high horse, put him in a lower position. Now, still have him in the organization and give him his pull, but knocked his job down to get your starter back. Get one more season of Rodgers if you can, or at least finish the contract. And now you got a lot of conflict going on. And you got all these guys sitting in their locker room going, do we got Love? Do we got Blake Bortles? Do we got Aaron Rodgers? I mean, are we Super Bowl bound? Or are we rebuilding?
Blake Bortles.
I know, right? Like, really? Like, that's what I said. Blake Bortles, you pulled that man in camp? You should have went and got Max Stafford or somebody. You should have got something. But at this moment, who is now right now the childish point is being pulled. Either you just let Aaron Rodgers go, get your money for him if you can, and trade, which who you going to trade for because Tom Brady's locked up. Russell Wilson staying kind of ugly in Seattle. Patrick Mahomes not going nowhere. Who are you going to get in place of Aaron Rodgers? With Alex Smith off the couch? I mean, I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jesse, what should be Green Bay's next move? I know you got Jordan Love, which he didn't look promising the first day. He looked 50% the next, and then he went back down to 25%. I'm like, what? Make your mind up. So, should Green Bay move forward with Jordan Love and just say, hey, we got to do what we got to do? Y'all went and got a first-round draft pick for the guy, so.
I don't know if there's going to be a choice. I think from what I read and from the statements of Aaron Rodgers, I think frankly he thinks it's a brick by brick mortar problem. He thinks it's this is a team chemistry, front office chemistry problem. He used multiple words that are almost you cannot come back from. Words that when you're in a meeting with other people, you have to answer for, and you have to answer for, and he's the leader of the team. So if you keep him and you use him, how much are you really going to get from him? Is he going to lame duck it a little bit? Is he going to prove to you no matter what that he's good? I don't know. Knowing Aaron Rodgers, he's going to give it 1,000,000% no matter where he plays. But at the end of the day, he just basically said your culture stinks. So the ball is in the Packers' court. So I don't know. I don't know what the best decision is. I know that, look, there's a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams picking up great talent from the drafts. Maybe not this year. You're allowed to rebuild as a Packer. I remember, Marquez, you're too young. I remember days where the Packers weren't even relevant at all. At all. Okay? So, it's happened before. It will happen again. Maybe this is the year to do that, so we'll see. But I think that we just stay tuned on the issue. Rodgers seems to be liked and hated. So who knows really, from what he says, who knows what the truth is? I mean, him and his brother, right? They don't even have a good relationship publicly, and then not a lot of people like Aaron. You think he's a little bit, too much of a person. I mean, I hate his commercials. What is he? Allstate? Is that what it is?
I think it is.
State Farm.
State Farm, right, is the neighbors thing. And then look, as far as the State Farm commercials too, I gotta say that Mahomes is horrible as well on those. They just got to get better. They got to get better. They're better in photography, still photos. Their acting is horrible. Rodgers is definitely better than Mahomes. But in regards to the team, we'll certainly find out. But I think as far as him calling out his organization, I mean, it's done. It's done for their relationship. So I don't see him playing for the Packers.
And it's a lot of things, like you said, the Packers they got the money. They're the organization. They can go find anybody they want. But one thing I look here is not only being a Packers fan, but looking at sports in general. You can do it once, maybe get away with it twice, but trying it 3 times is not going to happen. You only get 3 strikes in baseball. So, and it can end in 1 if you get a ground ball or a pop-up. I'm just saying. But back to the sport, the Packers did the same mentality to Brett Favre. He got a little bit older. He started struggling or whatever. They built around him. He lost his receivers. He had Donald Driver and a one-hand tight end. And then they said, time to go. Aaron Rodgers is here. They shipped him over to the Jets and the Vikings. And then Aaron Rodgers came in with the boat and started doing what he did. Yep. The first season wasn't great because who was great that first year? Actually coming in cold. And then Rodgers started getting his mojo. Mm-hmm. And now Rodgers could start struggling. Had 4 injuries that we all know about and sat out for multiple years. I mean, he won MVP and so forth and so forth. He struggled in the last playoff game, but they never really built around him. I feel that the Packers didn't give him necessarily the respect that he earned. as Tom Brady went around, we know that in New England, when Tom Brady said, "Hey, Bill, I need this," Bill may not have said, "Okay, Brady, you got it," but strategically, it was Bill, Kraft, and Brady in the room. Rodgers would go in the room and say, "Hey guys, hey, I need this," and they go, "We'll think about it." And then draft comes up, they draft the damn QB. I mean, who would not be? If you're a starting guy, if Jesse's the president of Front Row, and then out of nowhere they come and bring me, go, "Oh, but Jesse, we gotta." No. You're the guy. You just don't change it like that. When you sit in a room and ha ha he with me, and then you're my enemy when I walk out. That's what the Packers did, and they messed up with a great quarterback. And now they got to suffer the consequences. Rebuilding stage, here we come, because that's what it's going to be for the next, I think, 5 years. I think it will take at least 5 years, because Jordan Love will stay here for 2, if he don't mess around and screw up in the first.
Yeah.
But I think Jordan Love comes in, he may do something a little bit, may win the division, because who else we got there but the Lions. But then he'll still get knocked off by Tom Brady or the Washington football team with no QB. With a 50-year-old QB, we'll still win. But, I mean, the Eagles might show up, Jesse. I'm not just saying. I mean, it may happen. You just never know.
Don't tease me. Yeah, seriously.
But right now, with the Packers conversation, nobody stood anywhere. Everybody's like, I'm on this side of the room. Nobody want to be in the middle right now. Rodgers is like, I'm done with the staff. I love the players. And now the players are dividing. And guess what? Green Bay has like no other team. The actual state around it is operating on the team.
Yep.
And so now you've divided the city. And so who's to say the GM needs to balance? He done cost too much, and he didn't get enough talent for Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay in the last, I think, 6 years should at least had 6 years of Rodgers. The last 6 should have had at least 2 rings. This man should have well over 3 rings right now, fighting and looking at Tom Brady. But no, Green Bay didn't give him the weapons. When you got a crappy defense letting bombs over Baghdad go down, and you got Brady out there with a metal arm and whatever else, throwing 40-yard touchdowns, and Aaron Rodgers is like, I don't know if I want to run 5 yards or if I want to pass it for 2. It's confusing. So
you also, Marquez, you also have to look at, you do have to look at the teams that he did end up facing when he faced them. So, in Rodgers' defense, it's football. And at the end of the day, you can meet a buzzsaw, and no matter what you do, or if you're just average that day and other people never stepped up, I mean, they lose. I mean, look at, as a Philly fan, on the opposite side of the coin, look at Foles stepping in 2 games before the playoffs, makes the run, wins the Super Bowl, beats Brady, came off the bench cold, and look what happens. And he's at a fraction of the skill level, I will say, as Rodgers. But look, Rodgers hasn't done that. So what's that about? I think that it's when you are where you are, and how you feel when you're there, and then who you're playing when you're there. I think it's one divine thing, and Rodgers obviously Rodgers needs to work on his the universe. Rodgers needs to work on it. Maybe his acting as well.
Maybe he needs to go back to Jeopardy. That's what's going on right now. His ratings on Jeopardy is amazing, so that might be the next employment job for him. Even though he don't need the money, probably. But
no, he's a robot.
Yeah, probably. So, what do you think is Green Bay's next move, Marcus? I mean, it's trouble in paradise. If things can clear up after a storm, but can Green Bay get on the right track and get Rodgers back? Which I doubt that. That's like 0, 0, 0, -1 back in the alleyway somewhere. Really, of getting him back. Because if somebody's that disgruntled with the organization, he hasn't came back. He said, forget training camp. I don't care if it's mandatory or not. We do have preseason. And I wonder if he gonna stink up the place coming back right there week 1 and say, "Hey, I'm back, guys. I wanted to make you guys like a fool." That's what I
is anybody working in the preseason? He'll be fine. If he starts the first game, he'll be fine. All these guys are doing nothing. They're getting little goldfish eating at their toe jam. They're looking good. They're doing nothing.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm thinking Rodgers may just make the Green Bay Packers look like a big fool. Just say, "Oh, y'all scramble for resources,"
especially with the GM. That would definitely make the Green Bay Packers be like a fool.
He will.
But far as your question, I feel like it's all to be determined whether whether the situation with Aaron Rodgers, whether he wants the return with Green Bay or get shipped off somewhere else. We just never know. But right now, it's just looking like Jordan Love is the starting QB, even though this is first his first full season as being a starter. Whether he gets the starting job, it will be his first full season. But hey, it's the NFL. If things not working out, they be so quick to say, "Hey, this next man up." And with Jordan Love, hopefully with Jordan Love learning from Aaron Rodgers, as opposed to him being Aaron Rodgers' backup, hopefully he'll at least learn something from Aaron Rodgers to where as though when it comes to the preseason and the regular season, he'll already know what he has to do and know the right mechanics and how he can be able to lead this team not only to another NFC championship, but hopefully to the Super Bowl, like as all 32 teams wants to go. So with Jordan Love, he's in a situation where he's being thrown into the fire because of all of the Aaron Rodgers situations. He's now being held accountable for Aaron Rodgers situations to as though it's the next man up. He gotta take himself accountable. He's gotta do what he has to do in order for this Packers organization or this team to be successful.
Well, they'll try to be successful. I'm about Super Bowl. That's far out of our mind. We should be thinking about getting everybody aboard first. Before the tank is officially sunk. Instead, somebody got to do a rescue mission. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But as far as talking about recruitment, as far as talking about getting players on the big stage and helping them get through not only life setbacks and coming forward, let's talk about FrontRow Sports agency as a whole. And just the man, the myth, the legend with FrontRow Sports. I'm a part of FrontRow Sports. I'm part of 20 things in my life. And Jessie, I know you're part of 20 things in your life, but that's altruistic mind. But Jessie, can you tell me what is FrontRow Sports?
So, well, that's easy. So FrontRow Sports is a sports agency and a talent agency. What we do is we bring on certain athletes that contact us, and what we do is we look at their skill sets. We work in a couple different formats. One mainly right now is football. Football has been obviously a big part of FrontRow Sports for the entire, I think it's coming on 7 months since I started the agency. Football's big. We've had a ton of guys come in, former athletes of mine in arena football, whether it be from the Pirates or from the different variations of the Rough Riders, as well as all other teams and other players that crushed our teams or crushed assets of our game. And I brought them on because I knew that they were very valuable players and could make it on the higher levels. Speaking of the higher levels, this year was the Spring League, and the Spring League was certainly very popular, obviously, with the absence of football in our homes and on our TVs. Spring League was, very highly watched. So we had 4 players play in the Spring League on all different teams. It was pretty fascinating. Every Friday or Saturday, I was watching, and as well as all the other scouts. So and other coaches from around the country, and obviously all the fans. So the football division is very big. We're building it. Recently, over the last 6 months, FrontRow Sports has attained not only their NFL PA certification to be certified agents, but we also have attained our CFL PA certification. So we are now, able to negotiate with CFL teams. All of our athletes are able to be sent to CFL teams. And that's a big deal, obviously, for an agent in any category, because you have the product, which is your player, and they're not only friends, but it's a business, and they're under your umbrella, they're under your tutelage for a reason, and they trust you to make moves in their careers. This has been a very tough year in football. There's been a ton of guys on the shelf. All of the CFL players haven't been able to play for 2 years. Marquez, that's a whole podcast we can get in ourselves. I mean, these CFL teams are choosing players that they have signed for the last 2 years that may or may not have even gone to Planet Fitness. And I'm not even joking. We're talking about guys. We know guys that are on the couch for a couple weeks in the NFL, and it takes them games to get back to playing shape. So we're in an interesting situation as far as football. This year, new leagues have sprung up, but it's really, quite frankly, not enough leagues to bring in all of the talented players that are available. Not only do you have all the players that are graduating college currently every year, but you have all the players that then fall through the draft and land on arena football teams or European football teams like the GFL and the ELF, which are leagues that are coming into, that are becoming interesting. The GFL is the German Football League. Believe it or not, for football players, the German Football League, Marquez, is a huge opportunity. You have 13 teams in the GFL. You have 13 or 12 or 13 in the GFL 2. And so that's, give or take, 25 teams in Germany. Believe it or not, there's over 300 football organizations, American organizations in football in Germany. So it's quite interesting that, when pandemics and tragic things happen, new opportunities spring up. And that's the case in life, and that's definitely the case in football. As far as all of our athletes, we, with training camps coming up and the CFL starting, and news of the CFL starting, we have a lot of work to do. I'm certainly very busy. I'm at home. I just moved all day today, keeping in football. We have a partnership. FrontRow Sports has a marketing and sports logistics partnership with the Jersey Flight of the National Arena League. So not only are we representing players in football, but we're helping representing brands. And the biggest thing, for me, I love arena football. I kind of grew up in sports. In that sport, I've learned a lot of tough lessons and a lot of valuable tips. So FrontRow Sports, led by myself, are really, finding value in working with some sports franchises to really help everything from game day to marketing and advertising and corporate sponsorships, which is something else that I've done in the past that I certainly can provide value in an organization. Now, outside of football, football is a lot of what we do, but we're definitely doing more than football. One of our major, over the last 6 months since we caught up, Marquez, one of our last major big wings of our company, divisions per se, would be our professional wrestling division. It's really growing in leaps and bounds. I have a pretty good personal connection with a couple major players in the industry, and found that through football. So such is life. The more people, and Marquez, we talk about this off air all the time. The more people the more people you can connect with, the more people that can value you and you can value them. And the more that you, and this is in life and in football and in representation, the more people you impress, you come down that road, and when they need something done, they're going to go to the people that have impressed them. So this is why you see football players rejoin organizations, coaching staffs bringing around other coaches and other players. And you always say, why is that guy always fun? Well, that's because he's proven himself to an organization and a coaching staff. So, as far as football, it's very exciting, a lot of moving parts. I brought in a lot of help. Marquez, you're an administrative assistant of FrontRow Sports. You really deserve a bigger title than that. You certainly do a lot of things. I know we're working on a lot of projects ourselves. And I think that, and I'll get back to wrestling in 1 second. I think that a lot of people see FrontRow Sports, or they just see sports agencies as single entities that specialize in maybe one thing or one sport. What our company is trying to do is use the connections that I have built my entire life our partner, my business partner's name is Ciro Popity. Ciro is an incredible lawyer. He's a military JAG lawyer. He's also the Register of Wills in the largest county in Delaware. He's very politically connected. He's a fantastic person. He's the former president of the Delaware Breast Cancer Coalition. And down the line. And what you also learn in life is surround yourself with people that go to war with you and also that you want to go to war with you. And Ciro is an incredible person and an excellent agent for our company. And he's really been the spearhead for all of our efforts. And quite frankly, he's one of the best bosses you'll have. So it truly is good to work with great people. And I know we can all agree with that. But in regards to Front Row Sports, a couple other fun things is in our wrestling division, we have a couple athletes. We're bringing on more. We do filter our wrestling athletes who may or may not have wrestling experience. And we get them more often than not. I will get them a tryout with various big promotions, and we can get them an opportunity and potentially a career that they never thought was possible. Utilize their big personalities on the team. You might be a linebacker and everybody's fan, and you're huge and you're physical, and maybe you want to try something else. I would consider calling up Front Row Sports, emailing us, contacting our website, because we have a lot of opportunities for people that might not know where their next move is, or just have a lot of different skill sets physically. In regards to other things, we're going to continue to bring on sporting brands, other teams, baseball teams, football teams, professional teams across the board. We have a variety of lawyers, paralegals, assistants, myself on our side. We work on all these different projects. Marquez, you know how many different directions we're going in for all of our clients. But I think one thing our clients will tell you, and if they were all interviewed separately and not in the same room, and not to impress me, but they will all say that I have excellent communication. We have excellent communication. We're there every step of the way. We go to as many games as we can. In the crazy COVID year, I'm traveling all the time. And I take a very personal approach to this upstart agency. And it's really starting to show, prove itself, and really gain some legs. So I look forward to updating you, Marquez, and really in another 6 months, because I'm excited to show, the world that a young agency, a non-super agency, can compete in a world of a lot of money and big super agents. And, they say the NFL, the big agencies, take about the first 4 rounds of players, and all the other agencies it trickles down. It also, another interesting fact for sports agencies is that 65% of sports agents, NFL sports agents, have 0 to 3 clients. And what does that mean, Marquez? It really means that this industry is all about money and it's all about connections. And if you don't have either of them, you're going to be in trouble. So Front Row Sports is doing its damnedest to catch up as a new sports agency. And hopefully we've certainly proven ourselves to our athletes and the athletes to come. And just to say this, Marquez, I really, again, appreciate you giving me this space to chat with you and to kind of describe a little bit what Front Row Sports has done. And I just hope that, again, in 6 more months, we can come back and tell you all the amazing things that we're doing.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. But one thing I'm going to say, this concludes the show. But it's a wrap. I'm going to tell you one thing. We know you Cam's Corner, but I don't know where the hell he's at. So I'll figure that out very soon. Or he'll call me once. Something happened. One of the things that happened. But again, special thank you to you, Jessie. The president of Front Row Sports is here tonight. We will be back. He will come back 1,000 times over and over. He's my boss. No, let me say. But in the meantime, from Marcus Ojalayo, my name is Marquez Goode. Jessie on the flip screen right there. We saying be blessed, guys. Save the rest. We out. Peace.